ESPN writer Bill Simmons is known for blunt talk, especially in his aptly named podcast, The BS Report. But the network says that when Simmons recently went off on NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell for denying he saw the infamous Ray Rice domestic violence video, he crossed a line. Here's a small portion.
Goodell, if he didn't know what was on that tape, he's a liar. I'm just saying it. He is lying. I think that dude is lying. If you put him up on a lie detector test, that guy would fail. And for all these people to pretend they didn't know is such f***ing bullshit. It really is. It's such f***ing bullshit. And for him to go on that press conference and pretend otherwise, I was so insulted.
So what do you guys think? Beyond the pale here? Justified suspension? Or is Bill Simmons a free speech martyr?
I think Bill Simmons is correct. I think that his statement about Roger Goodell is one that I would agree with. Now, notice he didn't say, he said that Roger Goodell had definitely seen the tape, just that he knew was on the tape. Everyone knew it was on the tape. Reporters were reporting, in areas that no doubt Roger Goodell was reading, that they knew he was on the tape. I think ESPN, while they do an enormous amount of wonderful work, is crippled by the fact that they have multi-billion-dollar deals with the institutions that they are covering. There are a lot of great journalists at ESPN who do their very best to get beyond that. And I don't know, Bill Simmons was not really acting journalistically. He's acting as a guy who's talking on a podcast and sort of giving his impression of things, more of an opinion sort of role. But I think that it really backfired for them to do this. I think the key thing, which we didn't hear in the clip, was that Bill Simmons, after saying that, did then say, I dare someone to tell me that.
Come and get me.
Yeah. You can sort of understand ESPN's reaction a little bit more given that context.
Kelly, I know you're not a huge sports fan. You probably don't listen to a ton of Bill Simmons, but what do you think about the way he
Never listened to him, but I thought that was interesting. It's a podcast. He's not a journalist. So he operates in a sphere of journalism, but he's not one. He's there to be the average guy, as I understand, response. That's what the average person was thinking. And so that's what he said. I think the part that Josh just referenced was what took ESPN over the edge. So I don't know what they would have done if the first part stood alone. But the second part saying, come and get me if you think I'm, saying something wrong.
I don't know if I agree with that characterization of him as not a journalist. He's got this weird role where on the one hand, he's the everyman who talks about, booze-fueled trips to Las Vegas, but he's also the editor of Grantland, their highbrow sports writing site. He's the most identifiable name at ESPN. He does all sorts of commentary for the network. So I feel like he maybe uncomfortably straddles different worlds. But what do you two think?
That's true. I do think he's very valuable to ESPN as a brand, which is why I saw this whole situation as kind of win-win for everybody, because he gets to maintain his reputation as the man of the people, the guy who says what the real guy in the street is thinking. ESPN gets to say, we have journalistic standards. See, we stick with journalistic standards. Bill Simmons is going to be fine. His paycheck isn't going to be garnished too much. Everybody wins.
Well, but one of the things that comes up here is there's been a lot of discussion about how you can go about editing this kind of thing. That is a great question. The Poynter Institute had Kelly McBride, their ethics person, talk about that, and it said that was a question coming out of this. Is there a way on this kind of programming to have some kind of an ability of an editor to look at what's being said? The liar thing was what clearly crossed the pale.
Not just liar, but liar with profanity attached. Right. And then if you don't like what I'm saying, why don't you bring the consequences?
I think there's a key larger issue here, which is that Grantland is a site that's been around for a couple of years that was set up as an independent entity within ESPN, which does a lot of things that ESPN, the mothership, would not do, from allowing profanity to having a much more diverse set of things that they consider worth covering. They've been given a lot of rope. And I think it'll be and they've done, on the whole, really well with it. It's a tremendous site in a lot of ways, a lot of great cultural coverage, as well as from very smart sports coverage.
Well, actually, I'm interrupting you. Go ahead, sorry.
But I think it would be very unfortunate if this were an indicator that ESPN was going to be, pulling in some of that rope that they've been giving them.
Well, we talked on this show a while back, I don't know if any of you were here, about this piece in which a Grantland writer outed a transsexual golf club inventor who then took her own life, and it seemed a little gratuitous. So I kind of wonder if Grantland and Simmons have been given too much rope. Just to echo what you said, I wondered at first if this was a planned PR stunt by Simmons. He's very talented, but has also become a bit of a caricature of himself. I thought this might, be an attempt to get credibility back.
Well, he has a new basketball show coming up, too.
Oh, nice. I just read before the show today a piece on Simmons' history at ESPN that was published on Deadspin, and he is the textbook definition of a difficult employee. He has had all sorts of run-ins with authority over the years. So.
Well, that's because he was an independent guy before. They wanted him. They brought him in. They created Grantland for him. And I thought of Grantland as mostly opinion.
Yep.
Back to my original, he's not a journalist. I don't care what he's editing. If he's editing a vertical, which is a new language, and it's mostly opinion.
But many people, including Alt Weekly alums like myself, would disagree with the idea that opinion means not journalism.
No,
I get the last word.